Well, Hotel family, Hotel peace and blessings. I greet you in the name of God and the ancestors, in whose footsteps I most humbly walk. This is Brother Ed Mojo. We are in the PIFF Writers Connection. We'd like to welcome everyone who's going to be listening to this and watching this on our YouTube channel. Today, our guest will be A.L. Dawn French. She's based on the Caribbean island of St. Lucia. She has worked for many, many years in the government of St. Lucia. She's an awesome writer. She has done so much. I'm looking at her CV and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's the whole show right there. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk to her about her work as an author and writer. She has a great children's line of books called Peanuts, and then she has another one called Sabina. And so we're going to talk to her about that, and we're going to get an insight, because as we travel globally, we find some awesome writers. And there's a disconnect from being a writer and seeing their work on the big screen. How do we get from being a writer to having it work on the big screen? So let's bring Sister A.L. Dawn French into the conversation and welcome her all the way from the sunny, beautiful island of St. Lucia, where I'm from too. She's getting all the sun right now. Kind of jealous, a little jealous. Hey, Sister Dawn French, how you doing?
Hi, Ed, and hi to your viewers. Hi, everybody. Those that have some sunshine, good for you.
Well, we are happy to have you on here, and we want to talk to you about your work as an author. Okay, first, let's talk about, why does Dawn French write so much? What makes you write so much?
Everything is a potential story. I've always written from little, and I've really gotten into it now as I'm much older. But everything just seems to trigger a thought of, that could be a good story. I could put that in there, that chapter in something I'm working on. So it just, whether it's I'm listening to the story that a friend of mine is relating, or it's something in the news, it just always seems to be, I can translate that into a story.
Yeah. So you've been writing from a very young age. So young people out there who are writing, what would you say to them as a writer yourself? What would you say to someone who, like, a young person who's writing out there right now?
A lot of people, whether they be young or middle or old, they obsess a lot about the layout of what they're writing, the grammar, the spelling. And I tell people, just do it. Sit down and put the idea down on paper. You'll check the spelling afterwards. You'll check the grammar. You'll check the layout. Should the paragraph be at the beginning, middle, or end? You'll work all that out afterwards. Just sit down and write. Just put it down on paper. Get it out of your head and onto that computer, or whatever it is you're working. If you're working old school, some of us work old school, pen and paper works. Whatever medium you are using, just get that idea out. You can fine tune it afterwards.
Okay, that's good. So let's talk about your education, because obviously you didn't go from being a writer in your bedroom to an internationally renowned writer. What was the process for you as a writer? What was your education like?
I went to the Methodist school, and that was my primary school, and then my secondary school was St. Joseph's Convent. And then I went on to what was then the Mount Technical College. It's the Department of Technical Education now at the Community College. And I went on to university in England. All my university was out of England, not the University of the West Indies. And then joined the public service.
Okay, well, boy, that's okay. So now that,
the thing is, when I joined the public service, it's about rolling with the punches, taking your lemon and make lemonade, the will of the divine. I found myself in disaster management, which I had not trained for. I had trained to be an architect and a town planner.
Oh, interesting.
And so I found myself in what was then the Office of Disaster Preparedness, and I had to retool. So I actually had to go back into getting a postgraduate diploma in disaster management. And so that's my education route.
Okay. So now I want to get into your writing, because I have you as an author. So I want to get into your writing. Now, one thing, when I met you a couple of years ago doing PIFF, was you had this character called Peanut.
Yes.
Where did Peanut come from, and why is Peanut so personal for you?
Interestingly, again, is how things work out. I was doing a course with Open Campus of the University of the West Indies, and it was sponsored by the Canadian government. But when I did the course, I was already the former director of what became the National Emergency Management Organization. Hurricane Matthew hit Haiti,
Okay.
and the director of the Open Campus allowed me to be deployed into Haiti with Sidima as part of the response into Haiti. But I had a class assignment. The class assignment was to write a story. And I promised faithfully that when I came back, I would hand in my assignment because I had been on deployment before. And I know at night, you just, wherever, in the tent, in the hotel, where half the roof is gone, wherever you are at night, you can't go out doing response. So I knew during the day I'd been responsible, but at night I would have time to write my assignment. And again, pen and paper is what I used. And I sat down in waiting for my chef de mission, the general, to come and debrief us on what had happened that day and brief us for the next day. And I had this massive bottle of peanuts that I had come with from St. Lucia, sitting down on the table to share with my colleagues, because I know what deployment is like. An army moves on its stomach. And I came with all my munchies and this big bottle of peanuts on the table waiting for the meeting. And I went, I'm going to call my character Peanut.
Oh.
And I wrote the story whilst I was on deployment, came back home, typed it, handed it in, got the feedback from my lecturer. And that was the very first story I wrote, Peanut and the Storm, which was explaining to children how to prepare for a hurricane and what a hurricane is all about. So long story just to tell you how I ended up with the character called Peanut. And it's kind of gotten out of control now.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. So you started this character while on deployment in Haiti, but what made you, as a writer, what made you continue the story? Because it could have been a one book, but it has blossomed into a lot more. So what made that happen?
Yes. So the second one, again, showing you how things inspire. We have this movement for the reparations among the descendants of Africa.
Yes.
And in St. Lucia, the Caribbean islands have committees. And in St. Lucia, the reparations committee had a series of lectures for secondary school children about reparations. And because the Peanut story I had written was for under 12s, I thought, how do you explain slavery, reparations, repatriation to that age group? It's such a heavy, some adults struggle with this concept.
Yes.
How does an 8-year-old deal with that? And so I sat down and I wrote that story and I offered it to the committee. And because I gave it to my friends, both Peanut and the Storm and Peanut's Family Tree, I had given it to friends because it was a new genre for me. Before that, I'd been immersed in writing a lot of nonfiction. And so this was new for me. So I targeted a few of my friends who had children in that target age group to ask them to look at it for me, to give me the feedback. What came out of that was that the children were very happy with the information and the story and everything. But the parents started to say, well, make Peanut do this and make Peanut do that. And there's this story out there. And so it just kind of snowballed. And so here we are with Peanut now.
So okay, how has been the reaction to what all the things Peanut is? Because I've been reading some of the Peanut stuff you're doing, and it seems like you are making sure it stays up to date, modern, because it's like talking about COVID and coronavirus now. So it looks like you intentionally keep Peanut current issues.
When it's a news item, a current affair that's happening. So yes, so COVID is the flavor of the month at the moment. So the stories were explaining to children. It was interesting because I had written it before the World Health Organization made the call for the creatives to get on board. I'd already written the stories. But when they made the call, I began to offer it for free. So
Okay.
once every Friday, I pick a title and offer it for free. But there's so many other things that are not topical. So, you have Peanut talking about dyslexia. She has a friend who's dyslexic. I've done a lot of, I've actually, what is interesting, I've had agencies reach out to me to do work. So I've done work with the University of the West Indies on the Aedes aegypti, and Peanut and her friends discussing what the mosquito does and how it can affect people. I've done stuff with the Ministry of Health about HIV/AIDS. So Peanut has an uncle who's HIV positive, and how that whole thing rolls out. I've done for the Alzheimer's. So there's been discussion. Peanut and her mom talking about, Granny getting Alzheimer's and what it's all about and the different stages. So there are things that people have recognized that the Peanut Tales is really a good platform to educate children, and in some cases us adults too. I always use the example of Peanut and the Spider. When I did Peanut and the Spider, because it takes some research, the topics that I'm doing, and I never knew that spiders had blue blood. So the Vulcans have green blood, the humans have red, and the spiders have blue blood.
Oh, right.
And it's a little example I always use, which is typical of when I'm doing the research. And depending upon what I'm writing about, I always get a subject matter expert to look at it for me, to make sure that the science is correct, because the children do absorb the information, the feedback I've received, the children do absorb the information. So I'm very conscious of making sure that they get it right.
I'm glad you said that. As you said, the children absorb. I was just talking to the mother of my godson over in Ireland, and she was saying how he's absorbing so much. He's 2 years old now, and Dominic, he absorbs so much so quickly. Yeah, so we have to be very mindful.
A friend of mine, her daughter is 3, and they did Peanut and the Shutdown, which was talking about why school had to be closed. And she said to me, now she can hear her telling people, I'm not going to school. School is closed because of the virus. And she's 3. So, and when she said that, I thought, oh my Lord, this is why, it have to be it's so important to make sure that the information in there is accurate.
Yes.
And no matter who the subject matter expert is, I find them.
Yeah, and the one thing I like about Peanut, you given Peanut a whole family, a brother and stuff. Because I was just reading the one about how I think it was the 2 brothers, the brother who went out and the police brought them home.
Who broke curfew? Twins. Peanut and the curfew, and the twins broke curfew. Yes.
See, I read your stuff. I keep up with you. No,
it's a whole family, a whole extended family that I have to keep track of when I'm writing the story.
That's very good. That gives the children. I think it gives children an idea, a good feeling about their family and how family is important, because you interwoven the whole family into the Peanut experience, coming from one book in Haiti to where we are right now.
There's one that we did, and talking about expanded family. Peanut's family expanded because I did one called Peanut and the Munchkin, which dealt with adoption. And the whole conversation was that everybody in the family had to be on board for them to adopt this 2-year-old, and Peanut did not want this 2-year-old because Peanut is the last. She's the baby. So you bring in this 2-year-old. She's the only girl. You bring in this 2-year-old girl, and she's gonna lose the spotlight from her brothers. And so that whole dynamic, and then Peanut is saying, if I can just say that, Peanut is saying to her mother, well, why can't somebody else adopt her? Why doesn't somebody else take her? And the mom says, well, you don't want her, so why should somebody else want her? So that whole dynamic of, trying to explain to children that whole process of when someone is coming into your family, the adoption process.
So let me ask you a question. I'm pretty sure you probably get a good feedback in St. Lucia about your books. How has been your feedback on the international level from outside the Caribbean?
Outside of the Caribbean, it's still within my circle because it's my friends who access the stories. I have not been able to break out of my own orbit to have, say, a stranger say that Oh, I saw your book and I thought it was good and I liked it. I have not been able to break out of that my own orbit yet. So the feedback, whether it's from St. Lucia, from the region or internationally, are all within my own circle of people at the moment.
Hey, that's very interesting because knowing you for the last couple of years, you are a big person of marketing, and so that just tells us we just got to continue to market, and use as much of the
Yeah,
social
yeah,
media as we
yeah,
can. For those writers who
yeah,
are out there listening to you, I could say I know you, and I know you do a lot of marketing on social media and stuff like that.
yeah,
So, those writers who are listening, they just tell us you got to continuously hit those doors, continuously put your stuff
yeah.
out there, because you never know who's going. All
You
you need
never
is
know. You
one.
never know.
All you
So
need
it's
is
like,
one.
so what I started doing this year is like, maybe take $10 US, $20 US and do a Facebook blast.
Mhm.
Because you can run a Facebook ad.
Right.
And then I set the parameters because then through that I can then get out of my own bubble. Because
Gotcha.
I might say, so it's 20, so I choose um, both genders, age range 20 to 30 for the United States as an example, because you can set the parameters.
Right.
And so then they'll run with it and,
Gotcha.
and they'll just blast everybody. And I figure that's one way of getting out of my own bubble.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Now, as you say, getting out of your own bubble, I have something else to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last week, I have found out that you have a character called Sabina.
Sabine,
Sabine.
Sabine.
Excuse me,
Okay, so
Sabine.
first of all, it's not you said it like it's someone new. Anyone who's read a Peanut Tale
Uh-huh.
knows that Peanut is what we call her no savant, her nickname.
Right.
Her real name is Sabine. So
Okay.
when you're talking about Sabine, it's when she's grown up.
Okay.
Okay,
No,
now
well,
what's your question?
I just found out about that the last week. I didn't know it was that. So
Yeah,
why did you now the Sabine stories is written for older children,
it's for
it's
adults.
for
It's for
adults.
adults.
It's for
It's for
adults.
adults. Yeah.
So now why did you do that?
Okay, so in the Peanut Tales, there is a little boy. They're all 8 years old, and she's in a group of friends. There's 6 of them, 3 boys, 3 girls, and one of the boys likes her. But she's really not into, she doesn't like him the way he likes her. But I kept perceiving, I kept perceiving this dynamic in the stories that I would be writing. And I thought to myself, I need to resolve this dynamic, but I cannot resolve it among 8-year-olds.
Mhm.
So I jumped the story 20 years and I wrote it when they were 28. And I
Gotcha.
sent it out to my friends, I think 4 of them, to look at for me because they were familiar with the Peanut stories already. And I sent it to them, 3 women and a man. I sent it to them. And the instant feedback was, the unresolved sexual tension in the book has not been resolved. We need sex in this book.
Oh, rightio.
And they refused to sign off on the manuscript until I had knuckled down and written a sex scene. So I put it in. And so going forward, the books all have a sex scene because my reviewers will not accept a manuscript that does not have sex in it.
Got you.
So hence the reason they come with the 18+ notification.
Got you. So that's very interesting. So I'm listening to you. So as an author, for one, you heard a demand from your readers, right?
Yeah.
Because now you put something on the reader said they want more of this. So you have fulfilled that demand, and you have taken an 8-year-old and made her 20 years older and gave her the
Yeah.
life of an adult.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. That's very interesting. So now that you have published Peanut on one side and Sabine, the older Peanut, on the other side, what has been the feedback from the parents reading about this 20+ year old person?
The feedback has been interesting. You to say, whoa, some of the reaction has been, whoa, and, I'd say, well, particularly from some of the reviewers, I say, but that's what you asked for.
Mhm.
But as much as we, have that instinct to focus on that aspect of the story, the sex aspect. The books is not all about sex. It's one scene, maybe two, maybe three, depending upon what the story is in the book. But by and large, it's not about sex. It's about a relationship. In fact, it's a family. I say it's a love story. The backbone of the books is a love story between Sabine and this man, and all the shenanigans they get up that swirls around it.
Yeah, because you sent me.
And again, just like Peanut, the adults will come now and say, well, make Sabine do this and make this. The other day I had someone write and say, we need to do a kidnapping. And so you get the suggestions, I get the suggestions as to the things. I get the suggestions from the children as to what Peanut should do, and I get the suggestions from the adults as to what Sabine should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, you sent me the link, and I purchased one on Kindle, Parallel Lives.
Parallel Lives.
I'm reading that one now. It's very interesting. I'm reading it. I am reading it. So what I have to ask you about, since that one I'm reading that one and some of the Peanut stuff I've written, is all the stories based in the Caribbean, or do they ever leave the Caribbean?
The Peanut tales are written in a way that it can be absorbed by any culture.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them are specific to St. Lucia. So Peanut's family visit, for example, when her family come across some Martinique, it's definitely, they're doing a tour of Tet Paul and taking part in the Bastille Day celebrations. That is specific to St. Lucia. But when you have something like Peanut and the Allergies, then it can relate to anybody. And it's interesting because I had a 9-year-old say to me, Auntie Dawn, I want Peanut to be allergic to nuts, but not to peanuts. And I thought, oh Lord. That, I've got my assignment. And but the research showed that it is possible because peanut is a legume, and tree nuts like almond and pistachio and that cashew nuts are tree nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be allergic to cashew nuts and not to peanuts.
Well, I'm like that.
So the story was about allergies, how you can have allergies and what you should do to protect yourself, and if you do have an allergic reaction, what to do. So that's what that story was about. But because something so fundamental as an allergy is in the Peanut stories, it must carry into the Sabine stories because the allergies stay with her as an adult. Okay.
Interesting. So, no, I'm like that when it comes to nuts. Some of them I'm allergic to, some of them I'm not allergic to. Yeah, so I live that every day. I live that in my life.
Yes.
That's interesting. So Dawn, let's talk about how do people access your work? What websites, where social media, how people find you?
Yeah, my works are hosted on Amazon, but my name is also a famous name in England. So if you just type in Dawn French into Amazon or Google, you are not probably gonna see me. You're gonna see a white lady looking back at you. She's a British comedian. So you need to put the AL, which is why I had to put the AL for my books. So if you type in AL Dawn French, then my work will come up. And we can put the link at the end for people as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely put it in the credits. I just want people to. I knew if I asked you that question, you're going to talk about AL Dawn French and Dawn French. That's.
That's what your English viewers will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, after you told me about her, and my wife was like, "Oh yeah," because you told me she was in the Harry Potter movie and stuff like that, and so forth and so on. So yeah, definitely. I mean, so people who are watching and who want to find AL Dawn French, not Dawn French, but AL Dawn French. Please make sure you do AL Dawn French. Okay, so, and support her work because one thing, the reason this show came about, and we said in the first show we did yesterday, is that when I was in St. Lucia for PIFF, I heard a lot of conversation from 4 authors in our roundtable, and the challenges you all had in St. Lucia for your work, and reading some of the stuff the work is very good. I mean, anyone who knows St. Lucia is known for awesome writers, and great stories. So as an author in St. Lucia, what would you like to see happen to authors in the St. Lucia in the next probably 2 to 4 years?
I would like, for those of that, well, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, I think the first step is to get into the school system. Very often I will have a peanut story out and someone will say that this should be in the schools in the hands of the children. That's not my call. The ministry does not have it on the book list. The advice I normally get is to go and talk to the schools, but the schools, I feel, should not be the ones to make that decision. That's a policy decision that the Ministry of Education must make. And my God, there are what, over 100 schools in St. Lucia. Do you really expect me to go to each and every one of them?
Yes.
But short answer, yes. So I think, and we were talking yesterday about the history of St. Lucia. That book is not on the social studies book list. It's not on the history book list. It's not, in any way, shape, or form in the hands of children. The children who do have access to it is because their parents have bought it, have seen it fit to go out and buy it. And so their children have access to it. I think the very first step is to have a partnership with our own government. There is the after-school program where you are keeping children after school whilst parents are maybe working a late shift and you're keeping them out of mischief. Why can't we use local products for them? I'm not the only writer for children's books in St. Lucia. Why can't we use that local material and let the money stay home? I think the first step is to get it in the hands of the kids through the education system, and that way the ministry can vet. So that if your child is going to be looking at a peanut story that the Ministry of Education has put on the book list, say you put Peanut and the Bully, because bullying is a big thing.
Yes,
you put Peanut and the Bully on the book list, and it's something that the ministry has looked at and given its thumbs up, and we can roll with it.
Now, if I remember correctly, during PIFF 2018, there's a animation on Peanut, right? That was submitted to us.
A short film.
Yes.
It wasn't an animation, was live action. Yes. My friend surprised me. It's based on a story called Peanut's Champion, and it was about pedophilia. These guys are out there, the sex predators. Yeah. And Peanut and her friends talking about it, and they're telling each other their experiences and trying to decide what to do, and they're saying tell someone, and through the story letting children know that it's not their fault and they need to find someone that they can trust to tell them that this is happening to them. And so Colin Weeks and June Frederick took that story and made a short film with it.
Now, is that film on YouTube, or how can they?
Yes, it's on YouTube. I can give you the link for it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to put that out, because I remember we had it on PIFF. We had it in PIFF in 2000.
It's going to be the bonus track for Reading Month this year, because as you know, I've been putting out the links for the various Peanut stories. This month is Reading Month in St. Lucia, and it's every Tuesday and Friday, and on the very last day, the 31st of May, that story is going to be the bonus track, because I think it's a Sunday.
Okay. Well, let's give a big shout out to your reader, the lady who does all your reading for you. What's her name?
Mel. Mel is one of them. Yes, Mel is one of my readers. Yes. Yeah. In fact, I'm finishing up one now that she's waiting to take a look at for me, to tell me if it passed muster or not.
If it passed muster. I love it. Yeah. Well, for those who are listening, we are talking author, writer, A.L. Dawn French, who is based on the Caribbean island of St. Lucia, and we're happy to have her on. This is the show PIFF Writers Connection, which came out of PIFF 2018 after when I was home in St. Lucia for the festival. So, Sister Dawn, I know our time is running down with you, and we covered your work and a lot of work. Is there any particular work you have? What do you have in the back burner you could give us a little peep into?
I'm taking part in a couple of competitions this year. There's the Bristol Short Story Competition that's on. The prize is £1,000. I sent in a Sabine story, minus the sex. I said it is a beach story. But this one is not available because one of the terms and conditions is that it must not have been published yet. So
Okay.
this one is not available. So it's embargoed until, well, if I don't make the long list, then the long list comes out in July. So if I don't make the long list, then I'll put it up. If I'm on the long list, I'll hold on to it until such time, see how the process goes. And now I'm prepping for the Manchester short story competition, which is £10,000.
Oh boy. Well,
Yeah, and
wow, that's
so
great. Well,
that's
good
what I'm
luck with
prepping
both of
for.
them.
Thank you much. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you have any goals, future goals to have Peanut go into animation?
Yes, that would be good. Work out the logistics of that, and I think it would make a good animation. Yeah, I think it would translate really well.
Yeah, I think so too. Because Peanut, I mean, I like what you do with Peanut, and to actually see Peanut have a global stage, I think would be good for the writers in St. Lucia to let them see
Yeah,
that.
because as I said, it's written in a way that anyone can relate to.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be good for writers and authors in St. Lucia to see that a work of one of their own is actually on the global scale like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone has done it yet. Animation with work in St. Lucia yet.
I'm not sure. We do have animators, but I'm not sure if we have broken through internationally yet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, we have an animation segment in PIFF now with Milton Bradford, who works with us.
Yes.
So so Milton is he's
Malfini.
Malfini is heading that up for PIFF right now. So we're really happy to have him on board.
Yeah, we're all still there knocking on the door. One day we'll open and one of us will get through. Yeah.
Very soon. It's soon come, like the Jamaicans say. Soon come. Soon come. Well, I thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and for those who are listening, this is a new segment, and as we go forward, A.L. Dawn French will be my co-host on this show. So you will be seeing that beautiful face much more on the PIFF Writers Connection. And I'm excited that we could do this because it's not only about St. Lucian writers. We look at the global community because we want to bring things together and see what can we do with our God-given talents on an international level. So, Sister Dawn French, do you have anything you want to say in closing?
Well, considering the times we're in, be safe, people, and if you're on the front line, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll be talking to you again. The family, be careful out there, and Sister Dawn French, A.L. Dawn French, thank you so much for your time today, and we will be seeing you, and we will be posting this on the YouTube channel. We will send you the link when we post it. Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.